In January of this year, while on the Ida Crown senior class mission, I had the opportunity, it was a very special opportunity, to participate in a Kenus Tfilah, to pray for the release of the hostages that was held on Yom Kippur Katan at the Kotel. There were tens of thousands of people in attendance, and as part of that event, there was the recitation of Tehillim, the blowing of shofrot, and the sounding of silver Chatzotzrot, silver temples that were on loan from the Machon HaMikdash, from the special museum that has copies of the various utensils of the Beit HaMikdash. The origin of the sounding of Chatzotzrot at times of war and of crisis is found in this week's parasha. Ki tavo milchama b'artzachem al atzara tzorer etchem. That if troubles come, if you go to war in your land against an adversary, at that point, vareotem b'chatzotzrot, you should blow the chatzotzrot, the trumpets, v'niskartem lifnei Hashem Elokechem v'noshatem, and you'll be remembered before the Lord your God, and thus be saved from your enemies. It's a mitzvah, according to the Rambam, that extends not only to time of war, but into other times of crisis. And yet, what I experienced on that day at the Kotel was a very rare and unusual occurrence. Why aren't Chatzotzrot used more often when the Jewish people confronts troubles? Rav Eliezer Waldenberg, in his Tzitz Eliezer, in the 11th volume, the 16th Tshuva, discusses this issue at length. And among the many answers that are suggested are the ones that are posted by the Pri Megadim, that the idea of Chatzotzrot, first of all, only applies to a danger in Eretz Yisrael, v'chitavo, when you come to Eretz Yisrael and not in the diaspora, and therefore it would only be something that we would encounter in Israel. And the Maharam Shik, on the Sefer Mitzvot of the Rambam, noted that according to the Talmidei Rabbeinu Yonah in Masechet Brachot, the Torah obligation of sounding Chatzotzrot applies only to crisis situations that threaten the majority of the Jewish people. Once again, a reason why, until now, we haven't seen those Chatzotzrot being blown. During other crises, according to the Maharam Shik, it's only a rabbinic obligation to sound Chatzotzrot. However, the Aruch HaShulchan and Aruch Chaim, Taf Kuf, Ayin Vav Sif Dalid, rules that since this mitzvah is presented in the Torah immediately before a command to sound Chatzotzrot that were to accompany korbanot, offerings in the Mikdash, therefore, according to the Aruch HaShulchan and others, it stands to reason that this mitzvah may only apply during the times of the Beit HaMikdash and not today. And yet, nevertheless, there is no prohibition to sound Chatzotzrot, and in fact, according to the Smag, there isn't even a mitzvah to do so in general, but rather it's a means to infuse davening with even greater kavanah, and as part of a promise, explains the Smag, that when we sound the trumpets, when we blow the Chatzotzrot and turn to HaKadosh Baruch Hu in sincere prayer, that's the way HaKadosh Baruch Hu will remember us at the moment. Vayulachem lezikaron lifnei Elokechem, that you will be remembered favorably before the Lord your God, and you'll be delivered from your enemies. It may have been a unique experience for me to see the Chatzotzrot out and to see them being blown. And at the Kotel, they followed even yet a further stringency to have only the Kohanim blowing them. And yet, those Chatzotzrot added so much to the day. You can only imagine what it must have been like at the time of the Beit HaMikdash, with all of the opportunities that were before the Jewish people to connect with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Here, the silver Chatzotzrot is described in this week's parasha.